Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We are discussing the ziyarah of Abul Fadl al-Abbas, alayhi afdal salatu wa salam. For those of you who have just tuned in, Sheikh Amran Damani discussed at the start the salams, the salutation that Imam al-Sadiq sends upon Abul Fadl al-Abbas, and how he sends the and how he confirms that the salutation of Allah Azza wa Jal is sent upon Abul Fadl al-Abbas, the salutations of the angels, the prophets, and the good servants. They are all sending their salutations upon this great man, Abul Fadl al-Abbas, alayhi afdal salati wa salam. Shaykhna next. Imam al-Sadiq, again, an infallible, talking to his great uncle Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Not only does he send salutations, but he bear witnesses some things in regards to his uncle.
Yes, yes.
And the fact that he's bear witnessing, it's like when you say Ashhadu an la ilaha, you bear witness that there is no God but Allah Azza wa Jal. You bear witness that there is no prophet, that the prophet of Allah is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you bear witness that Ali is his wali. Here Imam al-Sadiq is also witnessing specific things to Abul Fadl al-Abbas. And surely the witnessing of an Imam is not something that we can take lightly.
No, not at all.
So Shaykhna, can you just take us through what he witnesses and what he means behind these?
Yeah, so I mean, before we get into what he witnesses, it's important for us to just understand this methodology of speaking in the Arabic language. You see, the word shahida, to witness in the Arabic language, comes with two types of harf jar. And just for the viewers to understand what Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam is saying here, let me just break this down a bit more linguistically. When you use the word shahida la, it means that I'm testifying in your favor. So if an Arab person was to go to the court of law and was to testify in favor of the person under scrutiny, he would use the term ashhadu lah, I testify for him. But if he was testifying against him, i.e. he found him to be guilty of that crime, and he was witnessing on behalf of the other people or in front of the judge, and he wanted to convict him, or at least place his understanding in front of the judge in terms of a conviction, he saw him to be guilty, he would say ashhadu ala alayh wa ashhadu anna ala, yeah, ashhadu anna alayh, yes. The Imam here says very beautifully, he says ashhadu lak. Says ya Abul
first time.
Yes. He says ya Abul Fadl al-Abbas, I testify in your favor. And he testifies four things, four characteristics. And when I was thinking about this, Abul Fadl al-Abbas epitomizes the most obedience or the most obedient type of servant towards the Imam of his time. And for us here in 2021, myself first, and all of the other mu'mineen, there is a mission about to take place. There is a divine rulership about to materialize. A rulership that all of the anbiya and all of the mursaleen and all of the ammar alayhim wassalam after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi have been praying for. This dawlatan karima of Imam al-Hujjah ajjalallahu ta'ala farajhu al-sharif is around the corner. Subhanallah, when I was walking, I saw so many people with, do you remember when we were walking, we saw those tags and it said that ad-du'a lil-faraj al-imam, shino? Wajib. Okay? The dua for Imam al-Mahdi and his reappearance is wajib. Why? It's around the corner. We can taste it, we can feel it. But before it happens, it's critical that we have four traits that Abul Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam had, so that when the Imam does return, or if God forbid that we pass before that, but we have these traits, we become Abbasi, and that makes us companions of the Imam of our time. What are these four traits? Firstly, it says ashhadu lak bit taslim. First thing he mentions is absolute submission to who? It says bit taslim wat tasdiq wal wafa wal nasiha li khalfi rasulillah, li khalfi nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Absolute submission. And you know, we mentioned this when we were on the poll 1120, that Sometimes we feel Allah Azza wa Jal has given us a deen whereby we are enacting our ibadat, we have the Quran, and it's us and Allah Azza wa Jal, and you know, the Prophet is the Prophet, we believe in him, but we are now Muslims and we now are worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal. Rather, the system that Allah has placed for us is via taslim to the wali of Allah at the time. And it's via taslim to the wali of Allah that we are able to get proximity to Allah Azza wa Jal. It's beautiful. Let me give you an example. One would think, excuse me, one would think that when I go to pray Salah al-Wajib, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, I'm now standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, and I'm speaking to Allah Azza wa Jal, and I'm praying my Salah to Allah Azza wa Jal. We say in Arabic, mubashiratan. I'm directly speaking to Allah. If there was ever a time to not invoke or not supplicate via Rasul or the Ahlul Bayt, it would be at that time. Because I'm now standing in front of my Lord, humbling myself in front of Him, and performing the wajibat that He's allowed me, or He's informed me to pray. Rather, we find, and I even checked the sanad of this hadith, and it turned out to be a wonderfully sahih sanad. Every single person in the chain of narration was a thiqah, according to our great scholars of Rijal. It said when one wishes to stand and pray his salah in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he should say the following dua. And this highlights the importance of taslim to the wali of Allah of the time, i.e. for us, Imam al-Hujjah. It says, say the following, Allahumma in, before we pray salah, Allahumma inni uqaddimu ilayka Muhammadan sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Ya Allah, I put forward Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi bayna yaday hajati, in front of me for my haja. Wa atawajjahu ilayka bihi, and I turn my attention towards you, Ya Allah, through Rasulullah. فاجعلني به وجيها عندك في الدنيا والآخرة ومن المقربين, and place me from amongst your close servants by the right of Muhammad, ومن المقربين, and from amongst those close ones. But the next bit is fascinating. The next bit says the following, اجعل صلاتي به مقبولة. Says by the right of Muhammad, place this salah that I'm about to recite to you maqboola, make it acceptable. See, there's a difference between salah being correct and a salah being maqbool, accepted. I can do my wudu correctly. I can have the correct intention. I can have the correct qibla. I can have the correct salah. I can have the correct qira'ah and pronunciation. That would suffice for it to be a sahih salah. But no guarantees that that salah is now accepted by Allah. This dua, Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam is saying, if I invoke Rasulullah in front of Allah before I recite the salah, maybe, just maybe, it might be accepted. He says, ij'al salati bihi maqboola. A step further, wa du'a'i bihi mustajaba, and make my dua that I'm about to recite in this salah, make it mustajab. Make it accepted in front of you by the right of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. وَذُنُوبِي بِهِ مَغْفُورًا, and that my sins by the right of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad are forgiven. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. Allah has placed this system for you and I to do complete taslim to the wali, either it be Nabi Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi or the wali of our time. And Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam says the first trait Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam had was absolute taslim to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam.
Absolute submission.
Absolute submission. The second characteristic, he says, what tasdeeq. You see, it's a level higher. Someone can have absolute taslim to the wali of Allah, but not really understand it, not really believe in it. He's doing taslim. The step higher is tasdeeq now. He sees Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to be the wali of Allah. He has recognized the Imam of his time. Like we were mentioning yesterday and the day before, he has real irfan of his Imam. And by having irfan of the Imam of the time, he has real irfan of Allah. Because real irfan of Allah is through the Imam of the time and nothing else. Man arafahum faqad arafa Allah. Whoever recognizes the Ahlul Bayt, they have recognized Allah Azza wa Jal. No ifs or buts. it says that Imam Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas had tasdeeq of Imam al-Hussein. And when someone has tasdeeq, i.e. in English we would say he verified with truthfulness the status of Imam al-Hussein. When he did that, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam highlights this characteristic as being something worthy of mentioning 1,400 years later. Allahu Akbar. Taslim. What tasdeeq?
In fact, for eternity, not just
For eternity.
400 years
For
later.
eternity, ahsant. Wal-wafa wal-nasiha. Allahu Akbar. Absolute loyalty. Not only did he have taslim, not only did he have tasdeeq, he stood by it until his blood was spilt. Allahu Akbar. Today I entered the haram of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and I looked up and there was a huge flag there and it had one of the ayat of Surah Al-Ahzab. And it said, the verse of Surah Al-Ahzab when it says, وَمِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَاهَدُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَضَى نَهْبَهُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَنْتَظِرُ وَمَا بَدَّلُوا تَبْدِيلًا. It said that there are some مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ, from amongst the mu'mineen there are some rijal صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ. They were truthful to that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made that ahd with them. فَمِنْهُمْ
مَنْ قَضَى نَحْبَهُ.
Yes.
He died on that path.
أحسنتم ومنهم من ينتظر. This one is almost as if the verse is revealed for Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He was true. He had wafa till the end of his mission. And then what else did it say? One nasiha. Interestingly, the word nasiha, when I was looking up in the linguistical dictionaries, because we use the word nasiha when you and I go to ulama, maraja, mujtahideen, shuyukh, sadat. We say, Shaykhna, Sayyidna, Smahta Sayyid, give me some nasiha. Advice. We think it's called advice. But when I looked at the Arabic dictionary, it said that advice is a result of the word nasiha. Nasaha comes from the word to be honest. And so when someone is honest, they give you a advice. I.e., it's almost a double-edged sword. It's all killing two birds with one stone, as they say in English. I didn't make that proverb up. We love birds. In fact, subhanallah, I have a picture. I took it today and sent it to my family and my two kids of a pigeon. Wallahi al-azim, Shaykhna. A pigeon sitting on the hotel ledge with its head facing towards Imam Hussein's qubba. Allahu Akbar. Nasiha is when someone is absolute honest with Allah and with themselves. It said that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam had taslim, tasdeeq, wafa and nasiha.
So it's honesty, and then from another perspective, as you said, there's more meaning to it. So it's both honesty and at the same time, you find that of the main characteristics of those that were there in Karbala was to advise the other army.
Yes.
And that was the duty.
Yes.
And this is our duty as well, to always advise, to always show the truth in order to try and save
Correct.
as much as you can. And we realize that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, and very interesting, all the companions of Imam Hussein, on the day of Ashura, they probably spent more time talking to the enemies than they spent fighting.
Precisely. I mean, and this is the other beautiful thing about the mission of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and the mission of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam in general, that they never gave up advising the people. Subhanallah, there is one person in the history, in the Tariq of Karbala, by the name of Abdullah ibn Hur al-Ju'fi, whereby this individual unfortunately committed many bad errors in his tariq, especially with the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Battle of Siffin and Nahrawan. He was avoiding Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam on the road when Imam al-Hussein was leaving Mecca towards Kufa. And it just so happens that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam crossed paths with him, and he advises him to come and speak to him. After an interaction with this Abdullah bin Hur al-Ju'fi, the Imam says to him, "Why don't you join us? Come with us." And this Abdullah bin Hur responds that, "You know what? I'm fine if you don't mind, but I will give you my horse, Mulhaqa, the name was the name of the horse, and he said, I've named it Mulhaqa because it never is able to be defeated in catching up to another horse. It always has the speed to catch up. And I'll give you my sword. I've never been defeated. I'm still alive. I'm talking to you right now. And I'll give you my shield as well. The Imam says to him, I don't want any of that. I want you, binafsik. He says, you've done many bad things in the history of your life. Maybe by joining my mission right now, you might just be absolved of all those things. He knew that Abdullah bin Hurr al-Ju'fi didn't have it in him to follow through with the nasiha of Imam Hussein. Yet he still did it. And when Abdullah bin Hurr al-Ju'fi absolutely refused, the Imam said, let me give you a piece of advice now that you've refused and now that you've advised me about what you want. He says to him, leave this place and go far away, so far, and make sure you do not hear the screams and the cries of when I call ammar min nasirin yansurana, ammar min dhabin yadhubbu an harami Rasulillah. For Allah, he says, I swear by Allah, that if someone hears that and doesn't come to the aid of mine and my mission, kabbahallahu wajhah fin nar, that Allah Azza wa Jal will push him into the fire of hell face down. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he didn't say to him, you're not going to fight with me, you're not going to help me, what type of guy are you? He actually advised him, if that's the case, then leave, go far away, don't be here, because you'll be in trouble. Still he was advising him. So this level of nasiha is the sunnah of Ahlul Bayt. It is the sunnah of those who have been done tarbiyah by Amir al-Mu'mineen. And just like that is the sunnah of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam.
Ahsant. You know, Shaykhna, when it comes to the idea of the one who hears the wa'i of Imam al-Hussein, who hears the cry of Imam al-Hussein, and on a day like this, and on the days that we visit him, we say to him, "O Aba Abdullah, if my voice did not respond to you when you called out to me, and if my body wasn't present when you needed support, here I am today. Here I am today, ready for you. لبيك يا داعي الله. لبيك
يا
Hussein.
أحسنتم.
We are here for you, O the one who calls to Allah Azza wa Jal. We are here for you, O Hussein. We are here for you, O Aba Abdullah. And we find that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was also there for his brother. However, it was possibly in a different way to that which we would have imagined. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas on the day of Karbala potentially killed the least number of soldiers from the enemies than the rest of Banu Hashim.
Correct, yeah.
Although he was possibly the bravest to the extent where Imam al-Hussein, when Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas wants to go out, he says to him, "No, O Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas." And he was the only person that he didn't say no directly to him, but the only person who he said something else to in order to make him stay. And he said to him, "Oh Abbas, if you were to go to Farraq Askari, my army would collapse."
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that no one had stayed except for Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. So what kind of weight did he hold? And hence he sent him, after hearing the cries of the women, he sent him to go to the enemies to ask for water. He went to the enemies, they refused. He comes back to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, and he says to them, he says to him that they do not want to give you the water.
Yes.
The cries are there, and he decides to go to the river of Furat, which Imam al-Sadiq actually alludes to in his ziyarah.
Correct.
And he has a specific part on it.
That's
In
right.
just 2 minutes, Shaykhna, if you don't mind, can you just shed some light on that part of the ziyarah?
So, like you mentioned, I was reading just in the haram of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas today, and it clicked to me, you know, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam responds to Abu al-Fadl's request to go and seek water for Sukaina and the children of the Bayt, he says to him, "Ya akhi al-Abbas, anta sahibu liwa'i, anta sahibu liwa'i." He says, "You're the one who carries my flag. If you go, then my whole askari is finished." And I was thinking that, you know, at that time, all of the companions of Imam Hussein had gone. All of the Bani Hashim alayhi salam had gone, Abbas alayhi salam was left wahidan. He was alone with Imam al-Hussein. Yet Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says, if you go, it is if my whole askari is gone. The whole army of Imam Hussein had gone already. It just highlighted the importance that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was everything to Imam Hussein. And that's why in the line of the ziyarah, you mentioned it just now, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says about Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas the following line, which is really a backbreaker. He says to him, let me find the line for you. He says to him,
وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ.
yes, he says to him, I can't find the line, but he says to him, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ قَتَلَكَ لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ حَالَ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ مَاءِ الْفُرَاتِ. Allahu Akbar. May Allah have the la'an on the one who is between you and the water of Furat. And it's amazing that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam highlights this very moment of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam's musibah. It's almost as if Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam was there, thinking that this really was a touchy subject for that of the Ahlul Bayt. And maybe you can shed some more light on.
Not only that, Shaykhna, but you find that this is something that broke Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. For Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas would go out to get some water. He comes back, the enemy can't face him. They would hide behind a palm tree. They would cut off his right hand. He would say, by Allah, if you cut off my right hand, I will forever stay protecting my religion and protecting my true Imam. They cut off his left. He says, O self, do not be fearful of the infidels. They have cut with their hatred my left hand. O Allah, make them taste your hellfire. Ajarakum Allah. He would hug the water pouch and he would head towards the tents of Abu Abdullah, with only one mission in mind, and that is to bring the water to the children and women. Ajarakum Allah. They started shooting arrows at Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. An arrow would hit his forehead, and another arrow would hit his chest, and another arrow would hit his eye. Aywa Abbas. But that did not make him stop until an arrow would hit the water pouch. Ajarakum Allah. At that point, no hands to fight with and no water to bring to the tent. He would stop. An enemy of Allah would hit Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas with a pole on his head. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas would fall to the floor. Aywa Abbas. He would shout for the first time, Brother Hussein, come to my aid. Imam al-Hussein would rush to the body of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He sits by that body. Sheikh, imagine the arrow that hit his forehead, the blood spilled and closed one eye. The other eye was closed with the other arrow that hit his eye. He couldn't hear because of the pole that hit his head. He said, oh, whoever you are, do not kill me until my brother Hussein comes to me. At that point, Imam al-Hussein would embrace him. He knew it was Abu Abdullah. Then he felt some movement. He said to him, oh Abu Abdullah, do not take me to the tent. Leave me where I am, for I have promised Sukaina with water, and I have nothing with me. Ajarakum Allah. Imam al-Hussein would sit by Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He would place his head on his lap. He would not allow him to do so. He tried a second time and a third time. Ajarakum Allah. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas would turn around to Abu Abdullah. He said to him, oh Abu Abdullah, I have your lap to put my head on. button in our style. When Shiver would sit on your chest, where would you put your head, oh Aba Abdullah? He would sit by him until he would say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah wa anna Aliya waliyullah. Then his soul would depart this world. This is truly painful. Imam al-Hussein would get up, he would say, الآن انكسر ظهري وقلت حيلتي وشمت بي عدوي. Now my back is broken. Now my enemy feels victorious over me. He returns back to the tent. Lady Zainab asked him, where's Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas? Sheikh, one narration says he didn't reply to her. He went to the tent of Abu al-Fadl. He removed the pole from the tent. The tent would collapse on the floor. She would hit her, shouting, Abbas. Oh, Abbas, you're sleeping by the river, while women are crying, and from fish shiver. So said water, you had promised her. Don't be shy, return empty. We need a protector. أيوة عباسة وعباسة. جزاك الله خير شيخنا for joining us. Jazakumullah khair, dear viewers, for joining us. Please do join us tomorrow for our special live show on the day of Arba'een in front of the dome of Imam al-Hussein Aba Abdullah. And until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ندادی نه اینو ندادی بره تو یک دو سه ها یک دو سه
تست صدا
یک دو سه یه تست صدا یک یک یک یک یک یک دو سه
اول که میخواد افکتش بدیم باید تو دهت حتما باید بره. این تو ده، این تو ده، این سندت
بره رو
سند
ده.
آره اول تو ده باید بره چون افکتور ورودی شد.
آره
ما اینجا توی ده تعریف کرده بودیم.
آره آره آره
خب الان بذار
یک دو سه. خب ریترن تو الان چیز کن دیگه. ریترن تو آن
آره
کن.
دهمون بالاه میکس هشت چیز
یک دو سه یک یک یک یک
دهم بالا صحبت میشه.
یک دو سه.
آها تو ده روشن نیست شاید. من روشنش میکنیم. بزنیم توی نه این نه این که
یک دو
از این بیام بیرون. از این دیدنه بدم از این صفحه بیام بیرون.
کدوم؟
از این صفحه میخوام بیام بیرون.
همو بزن.
ببینید یه دفعه ببین باید چی کار کنیم.
بیا الان اینجاست. چی شد؟ آها نوها رو بزن.
نه بازم نه اصلا خواستم بیام بیرون. یه لحظه من ببینم این اپلیکیشن این شاید اینجا چون سلکت کردم
تو این تو اینایی حالا
خب اینجوری میگه چون اینو سلکت کردم و این خود باز که تو باز نفرسته که حالا ده مال شما روشن نیست. من روشنش میکنم.
یک دو سه. آره آره
روشن حالا
یک دو سه.
سه ساعت
یک دو سه یک دو سه یک دو سه. آره
خب این که ریتورنت کاملا معلومه.
یک دو سه. گفتی باید تو ده بفرستیمش که بره تو افیکس هم.
اصلا هر
آره دیگه باید بره تو افیکس.
آره این الان تو اینجا توی رک افکتور میگه ورودت چیه خروجت چیه.
خب این که تعریف شده. حالا هر خطی که میخوای بفرستی توی باید تو این دهه بفرستیش که بره تو چیز.
ابتدا تو ده بفرستی و بعد
بله اون که دیگه اون دیگه کار خودشو میکنه.
آره تمام شد. حالا ما یه کاری بکنیم این بیاد برامون. ولی این قبلا اینجوری تعریف نشده. یعنی چی شده؟ یعنی شده.
خب اینو الان نمیشه چیز کنی؟
چیکار کنیم؟
میکس یک
این نیست تا صبر کن. ببین اینه. من سلکت کردم توی مردم دارن برای هم چی روش تعریف نشده. اینپوت این پی بی ما نیست. این
پلیبکه.
نه پی بیه. این چیزی این چیز از دیگه بعد نگاه کنیم اینا. پی بی نیست دیگه. استاتیک وصل نیست، دمتا وصل نیست، افکت رک. خب صحبت کن.
یک دو سه.
خب حالا اگر ما اینو میگن افکس یک لفت و اینم افکس
رایتش.
آره رایتش. حالا خب
یک دو سه.
و لینکش کنیم یعنی
اینا رو لینکش که میشه. لینک مشکل نداره.
چنل جا فکر کنم که چنل لینک میشه.
آره آره آره همینجوری.
آقا
الان بگو این 15 و 16 رو
تو اینپوت ها ما میخوایم
بزن روش. تو الان 15 و 16 رو میخوای دیگه.
15 و 16 تا لینک کن.
لینک باید بشه. این لینک درست.
کردی؟
آره الان بده برو. درست.
خب الان صحبت
یک دو سه. درست. یک دو سه. یک دو سه. خب خب که تنظیمات افکت. یک دو سه. یک الو الو الو الو الو الو الو یک دو سه چهار یک دو تمومی الو he آره خب این دیگه تنظیم افکت هست.
الو الو الو یک یک یک دو دو دو سه سه سه
این دهه رو خیالش شدی یعنی چی؟
یعنی چی؟ یعنی چی؟
201
Mezarına solmuş güller getirdim. Bükük bel perişan haller getirdim. Tamam. Ses, ses. Sensiz... Okay. Sensiz kül olsun bu dünyanın başına, yürekteki derdimi bilenim Hüseyin. Kimse bakmaz gözlerimin yaşına, yoktur gözyaşımı silenim Hüseyin. Mezarına solmuş güller getirdim, bükük bel... Işık yanınca ona mı baktın? Alican ışık yanmadan o işaret etti. Ben o yüzden döndüm. Sonradan ışık yanıyor. Ha? Işık mı geç yanıyor o zaman? Tamam, ışık nereye ben oraya değil mi? Bunlar koymur ki ben duygusal olum ya. Şeytana lanet. Ya Hazreti Zehra. Allahümme salli ala Muhammed. Sensiz kül olsun bu dünyanın başına. Yürekteki derdimi bilenim Hüseyin. Kimse bakmaz gözlerimin yaşına. Yoktur gözyaşımı silenim Hüseyin. Mezarına solmuş güller getirdim. Bükük bel perişan haller getirdim. Bir de ağıt dolu diller getirdim. Kalk bir de başına dolanım Hüseyin. Can. Ses, ses. Ses, ses. Sensiz kül olsun bu dünyanın başına. Aleyküm selam ve rahmetullah. Elhamdülillah çok şükür. Sen 1-2-3 diyenden ben 1-2-3'e dönüm yani. Tamam. Ya ben. Can. Ne dedim bu ellerle ilgili ne dedim ben anlamadım onu. Tamam. Tamam. Ortadaki 2. Tamam. Tamam, çeşm. Tamam. Bu yüzümü çok parlatmıyor mu? Çeşm. Memnun. Ben okeyim. Siz okeysiz başlayayım. Sensiz kül olsun bu dünyanın başına, yürekteki derdimi bilenim Hüseyin. Kimse bakmaz gözlerimin yaşına, yoktur gözyaşımı silenim Hüseyin. Mezarına solmuş güller getirdim, bükük bel perişan haller getirdim. Bir de ağıt dolu diller getirdim, kalk bir de başına dolanım Hüseyin. Sorsan şirin dilli Rugayyen ne oldu? Sorsan şirin dilli Rugayyen ne oldu? Hasretinle, hasretinle yandı, sararıp soldu. Şam'ın harabesi mezarı oldu. Gece gündüz sana nalanım Hüseyin. Beynül Harameyn'deyiz. Hiç ayrılmamış iki kardeşin ayrı düştüğü yerdeyiz. Biri Allah'a kulluğun babası, diğeri faziletin. Biri cennet gençlerinin ve şehitlerin efendisi, diğeri hacetler kapısı ve şehitler gıptası. Dünyada cennet bahçelerinden bir bahçedeyiz. 3 kişiyle geldiğimiz Kerbela'da 3000 takipçimizin duasıyla yayınımıza devam ediyoruz. Şimdi başta kan ağlayan gözlerin sahibi, sahibimiz ve Mevlamız, Kerbela şehitlerinin kanını ve intikamını alacak olan Hazreti İmam Mehdi Accelallahu Teala Ferecehu Şerif'in yerine ve siz değerli takipçilerimizin duasının kabul olması niyetiyle bir selam verelim. Esselamu alel Hüseyin ve ala Ali ibn'l Hüseyin ve ala evladil Hüseyin ve ala ashabil Hüseyin. Bu kadar ayaktayız. Şiirin ikinci kıtasında iki defa onu keseceğiz. Onların ata. Canım. Bir daha mı yapalım? Tamam. Sensiz kül olsun bu dünyanın başına, yürekteki derdimi bilenim Hüseyin. Kimse bakmaz gözlerimin yaşına, yoktur gözyaşımı silenim Hüseyin. Mezarına solmuş güller getirdim, bükük bel perişan haller getirdim. Bu görüntü çok kötü. Ama bu dürbünün başındakine de biraz yukarı kaldırsın. Çorap morap gözükmesin. Çeşm. Sensiz kül olsun bu dünyanın başına, yürekteki derdimi bilenim Hüseyin. Kimse bakmaz gözlerimin yaşına, yoktur bu dünyada gözyaşımı silenim Hüseyin. Mezarına solmuş güller getirdim, Bükük bel perişan haller getirdim. Bir de ağıt dolu diller getirdim. Kalk bir de başına dolanım Hüseyin. Sorsan şirin dilli Rugeyyen ne oldu? Sorsan şirin dilli Rugeyyen ne oldu? Hasretinle, hasretinle sararıp. Sorsan şirin dilli Rugeyyen ne oldu? Hasretinle, hasretinle sararıp yandı, soldu. Şam'ın harabesi mezarı oldu. Gece gündüz sana nalanım Hüseyin. Beynül Harameyn'deyiz. Hiç ayrılmayan iki kardeşin ayrı düştüğü yerdeyiz. Biri Allah'a kulluğun babası, diğeri faziletin. Biri cennet gençlerinin efendisi ve şehitlerin efendisi, diğeri Beynül Harameyn'deyiz. Hiç ayrılmayan iki kardeşin ayrı düştüğü yerdeyiz. Biri cennet gençlerinin ve şehitlerin efendisi, diğeri hacetler kapısı ve şehitler gıptası. Dünyada cennet bahçelerinden bir bahçedeyiz. 3 kişiyle geldiğimiz Kerbela'ya 3000 takipçimizin duasını getirdik. Şimdi kan ağlayan gözlerin sahibi, sahibimiz ve Mevlamız, bütün mazlumların ve şehitlerin intikamını alacak olan, özellikle Kerbela şehitlerinin kanını ve intikamını alacak olan Mevlamız Hazreti İmam Mehdi Accelallahu Teala Fericehu Şerif'in niyabetiyle o Hazretin zuhurunun acil olması niyetiyle ve siz değerli takipçilerimizin de dualarının kabul olması niyetiyle bir selam verelim. Esselamu alel Hüseyin ve ala Ali ibnil Hüseyin ve ala evladil Hüseyin ve ala ashabil Hüseyin. Aa, bitti. Tamam baba. Çeş. Zahmet çekme. Alican, kağıtları versene. O büyükleri de ver. Alican.
اینو ولی الان دارن آمادهش میکنن بشینه توی کادر نمیارمش. خب یعنی کادر رو بالاخره
فاتحة فاتحة بلا يقصد ده لازم ها yok fark yok.
Her sene olduğu gibi yazdık ya. Neydi bu her sene? Sesin var mı? Hangi kamerada? Bunda mı? Okey. Erbeğin Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullah ve selamu aleyh ve Kerbela şehitlerinin şehadetinin 40. gününün yıl dönümü Erbeğin Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullah ve selamu aleyh ve Kerbela şehitlerinin şehadetinin 40. gününün yıl dönümü nedeniyle asrımızın velisi Hazreti İmam Mehdi Accelallahu Teala Feracehu Şerif'e başsağlığı arz ediyoruz. Biz Erbeğin yürüyüşüne geldik. Yani İmam Hüseyin Aleyhisselam'ın ve Kerbela şehitlerinin şehadetinin 40. yıl dönümüne. Kerbela faciasından sonra Hazreti İmam Zeynel Abidin ve Hazreti Zeynep-i Kubra salavatullahi ve selamu aleyhin onlar Erbeğin Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullah ve selamu aleyh ve Kerbela şehitlerinin şehadetinin 40. gününün yıl dönümü nedeniyle asrımızın velisi ve Mevlamız Hazreti İmam Mehdi'ye başsağlığı arz ediyoruz. Allah-u Teala sabır versin inşallah. Kerbela faciasından sonra Hazreti İmam Zeynel Abidin ve Hazreti Zeynep-i Kubra'nın Erbeğin Hazreti İmam Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullah ve selamu aleyh ve Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullah ve selamu aleyh ve Kerbela şehitlerinin şehadetlerinin 40. gününün yıl dönümü nedeniyle asrımızın velisi ve Mevlamız Hazreti İmam Mehdi Accelallahu Teala Feracehu Şerif'e başsağlığı arz ediyoruz. Kerbela faciasından sonra Hazreti İmam Zeynel Abidin ve Hazreti Zeynep-i Kubra ile birlikte Ehl-i Beyt hanedanının çıplak develer üzerinde gah zincirle, gah sıcak kumlar üzerinde ayaklarına dikenler batarak esaret altında zorla yaptırıldığı yolculuğun yıl dönümündeyiz. Erbeğin'deyiz. Şu anda bu yolculuk Necef'ten başlıyor, Kerbela'ya kadar insanlar yürüyor. Hatta diğer ülkelerden gelenler de var. Biz Necef ve Kerbela arasında baz alırsak yaklaşık 90 kilometrelik bir yol yapıyor. Şartlar ne olursa olsun hiçbir şekilde bu yürüyüşe engel olunamıyor. Yani bu Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullahi ve selamu aleyhin muhabbetinin ilahi oluşunun bir kanıtıdır. İnsanlar akın akın geliyor. Biliyorum siz de gelmek istiyorsunuz. Şimdi Üstadımız Muhammed Cevad'ın sesinden istifade ettiğimiz videomuz hazır. Ona gidelim. Bu bölüm bir daha çekelim. Ekleriz, onu değiştiririz. 3, 2, 1. Erbeğin Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullahi ve selamu aleyh ve Kerbela şehitlerinin şehadetinin 40. gününün yıl dönümü nedeniyle asrımızın velisi ve Mevlamız, sahibimiz Hazreti İmam Mehdi Acelallahu Teala Ferac-ı Şerif'e başsağlığı arz ediyoruz. Beynül Harameyn'den ayrı düşmüş iki kardeşin hareminin yanı başından Allahu Teala'ya dua ediyoruz. 3, 2, 1. Erbeğin Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullahi ve selamu aleyh ve Kerbela şehitlerinin şehadetinin 40. gününün yıl dönümü nedeniyle asrımızın velisi, sahibimiz ve Mevlamız Hazreti İmam Mehdi Acelallahu Teala Ferac-ı Şerif'e başsağlığı arz ediyoruz. Kerbela faciasından sonra Hazreti İmam Zeynel Abidin salavatullahi ve selamu aleyh ve Hazreti Zeynep-i Kubra selamullahi aleyha ile birlikte Kerbela 3, 2, 1. Erbeğin Hazreti İmam Hüseyin salavatullahi ve selamu aleyh ve Kerbela şehitlerinin şehadetinin 40. gününün yıl dönümü nedeniyle asrımızın velisi Hazreti İmam Mehdi Acelallahu Teala Ferac-ı Şerif'e başsağlığı arz ediyoruz. Hazreti İmam Zeynel Abidin ve Hazreti Zeynep-i Kubra ile birlikte Ehl-i Beyt hanedanının hiç görmediği bir şey yaşandı, esaret. Gah çıplak develerin üzerinde zincirlere vurulmuş, gah sıcak kumlar üzerinde ayaklarına dikenler bata bata Şam'dan Kerbela'ya bir yolculuk başlatılmış. Bu yolculuğun adı esaret. Biz ise bu yolculuğun temsilli yürüyüşündeyiz. Erbeğin yürüyüşünden Necef'ten Kerbela'ya geldik. Bu mesafe yaklaşık 90 kilometre. Şartlar hiçbir şekilde bu yolculuğun durmasına engel olamıyor. Günümüzde koronanın en üst düzeyde olduğu bir zaman geçiriyoruz. Ancak bizler yayın yaparken gördük binlerce insan, ben söylemek istemiyorum, afaki konuşmak istemiyorum ama milyonlarca insan imamına doğru akın akın gidiyor. Biliyorum sizler de burada olmak istiyorsunuz. Erbeğin videomuz var. Üstad Muhammed Cevad'ın sesinden istifade ettiğimiz. Şimdi o videomuzu izleyelim. Hep beraber Erbeğin'e gelmiş olalım. Bitti. Bu bölüm bitti. Şimdi ikimiziz. Canem. Evet, şimdi beraber konuşacağız. Bütün programı. Hiç tek çekmeye gerek yok yani. Direkt 2 kişi başlayabiliriz. Selam.